So we've gone through the process of creating this gun. The only thing we haven't done is done this setup right here. So what we want to end up with is something like this. Let's say I've got a gun with a bunch of different pieces on here, and I want to make it viable for taking in game resing really quickly and animating and UVing and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is all the animatable pieces I want to be in their own subtool. But let's say they're all over the place. Like these are all separate subtools. All these little bitty pieces are in separate subtools because we've already run it through the Boolean process, right? So what we need to do is put all of these things together. Now before, what I'm going to end up doing is going over here to merge visible. I'm going to merge all these things together and then I'm going to split it apart. But before you do that, there's a couple things you're going to want to do. Load up Z plugin clean tool master. And you're going to go over to your Z plugins and you're going to go, I don't have Z clean master. So go to Google ZBrush Z plugins, go to the download center, ZBrush plugins, go all the way to the very bottom to the employee created, and you're going to see Z repeat it, which we use a lot, clean tool master we use a lot, panel loop presets we use a lot, not quite as many as the other ones. Z startup master might be interesting to you, and nanotiles we use a lot. So download those, install them. We've talked about that before on the channel. And once you have those installed, and it's basically just copying it to a folder. I guess I can walk you through that too. So if you go to ZBrush 4R8, Z startup, zplug64, they're going to give you a download folder. You're just going to copy in, there's going to be a Z script, ZSC, and a data folder. Copy those into that folder, that zplugs folder I just showed you. And then restart ZBrush, and when you restart ZBrush, your Z plugin will be right over here. So what we're looking at is this clean tool master. And before we merge all this stuff together, if you're using dynamic subdivisions, which if you'll remember, you grab a cube here, make polymesh 3D. If I hit the D key, that's going to take us into dynamic subdivisions over here, like so, and then you can change your smooth subdivisions and your crease levels and all that. So when you're working on your object, it could look nice and smooth, but as soon as you merge everything together, it's going to go back to its original form. So if you're going to be baking from it, you want to apply the subdivisions. The manual way to do that is to have D selected and then just hit apply over here, and that'll go ahead and make those real subdivision levels. Now if you have a bunch of subtools over here that need to have that run on it, need to have that applied to it, you're going to want to go over here and say dynamic subdivisions to actual subdivisions. Do that for all of your objects. Same thing with BPR to geo. What that means is if you have an object like this, and say you have say a array mesh, so we do an array mesh here, and we do an offset, and it doesn't really matter, and the X amount, fine, and then you have a repeat. So if you have an object like this that's like poking holes through your mesh, or making a nice pattern on your mesh, and you want to bake that out, as soon as you merge this together, it's going to kill your array mesh, and it's going to go back to just one. So before you do that, you're going to want to go to, one of the ways to do this is to go to array mesh, hit make mesh, but the cool thing about this is you can also go from geometry, convert Bpr to geo, just hit that button, and that will make this real geometry. So again, before you're baking from it, it has to be real. So when you go to merge, it's going to turn all that stuff off. So we have that. What else we need to think about? And any of this other cleanup stuff you want to do. You can bake your layers and delete your UVs. It'll kill your UVs when you do this process. So just make sure you do those two things before you merge.